One gloomy afternoon in the middle of the week, Audrey Marsh headed into the Dreary to pick some sour berries for a pie. A young vampire named Matthew, who had been taking advantage of the near darkness of the Dreary to read a book of morbidly sad poetry, spotted Audrey with a basket of berries. Spellbound, he dropped his book in the muck and didn't bother to pick it up. While he watched the strange beauty move about the swamp in a lace dress soiled up to her knees, he felt a terrible urge. Audrey wasn't sure what to make of the thin young man in black that stood before her. He was pale and wan, on the verge of sickly, and she could hear him breathing loudly from his nostrils like a bull. He reminded her of a vampire, but he wasn't quite as debonair or handsome as the ones she'd read about in books. He was tall and slender, but his trousers were short, which gave him an aura of incompetence, and he wore a capelet, rather than a cape, that was effeminately fashioned. They stood together in a suspenseful silence for some time, each waiting for the other to say something. Matthew recited a few lines of morbidly sad poetry in his head, but nothing seemed quite appropriate for the moment, so in a panic he bared his fangs. He wasn't expecting her to be as quick as she was. He didn't know that she'd grown up in the Dreary and was more familiar with the terrain than he. He didn't know that she knew which mounds of muck were solid and sturdy, and which ones were soft and sludgy. He didn't know that she knew where the quicksand was, and where the leeches nested, and that she knew how to hide for hours in the bog fog. It was dusk when Matthew finally gave up hunting for Audrey. During that time, he'd been almost eaten alive by eels after falling into a pit of slime, and he managed to tear a pant leg while trying to free himself from quicksand. He cursed himself for not remembering that he was a vampire and had the power to turn himself into a bat, which would have made things so much easier. When Audrey returned home, she didn't initially tell her sisters about her adventure with the vampire. She almost told Morg, their maid, but sensed that she was in more of a poisoning mood than a listening to stories about a vampire encounter mood. For several days, Audrey could think of nothing but the strange and ineffectual vampire and wondered if she'd made a mistake running away from him. Normally, she exalted Dreary life. There was no one who loved the Dreary more than her. But lately she'd begun to feel restless. Like maybe it wasn't enough. That possibly there was more to life than eels and mosquitoes and bad swamp smells. Becoming a vampire would be a change. She could be someone different, or rather be something different. She'd often daydreamed of everlasting life and supernatural powers, and although she had only briefly witnessed Matthew's pitiful abilities, Audrey was certain that if she became a vampire, she would be much better at it.